Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sandy Bob Show for December 3rd, 2019. We have a guest host today, Dean Val, and we also have a special guest, Jamie Lee, who will be coming on shortly. And he will be should be a very, very interesting talk show today. I always start my show reminding everybody to sing New You for 15 minutes at night and call on the Real Guides to show you what is real. We're living in some very, very interesting times right now, and the Real Guides are here as instructors to show us the way, show us what is real, and it's really very, very interesting, the things that are going on behind the scenes. Now, the way you sing New You is something like this. New You. You can sing it out loud, or you can sing it to yourself. You can share singing it with your friends. And it's, I hate to use a scare tactic or anything, but I highly recommend it for everyone. And I guess all I can say is you'll be really, really glad that you started singing New You and start tuning into the Real Guides, who will show you what's going on in this planet, our solar system, and this section of the galaxy. It's very, very interesting. Now, all our listeners, if you're tuning in, and make sure that you mute your phone, because we want to avoid background noises like birds chirping in the background and or dogs barking in the background. And before we get started with our guests, I want to introduce Dean Val. And Dean Val is going to share some interesting things that he's doing. And then when our special guest comes on, he hasn't called in yet, but when he comes on, we'll open it up to him. And for now, Dean Val, why don't you introduce what you're doing about the NuPresentation, just to start off before you tell us about the things that you found up north when you went up there. So Dean Val, go ahead and please tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks for the introduction. And like you mentioned, Jamie Lee is to be on today, but we're waiting for him. He did confirm that he would be here, so we're counting on it. But if he doesn't, we'll just chat here a while and share with people what we're doing. And yes, I'm Dean Val from Huntington Beach, and I'm part of the you could call it a wake-up group that is called Wonderful Worldwide Educators. And there are a lot of dastardly things going on in the world, just like we know about in our group, and just like our guest Jamie Lee does, who, if he comes on, will be discussing these things. And everybody has a right to their experiences, but those controllers right now who have maneuvered their way into the power position are interfering with the experiences of others. So that's where we come in, and then we help others become aware of their agreements. And it's really that simple, Bob, to become more aware and make better choices, as you know. But because of the marketing front of the controllers, the public is mostly unconsciously agreeing to their own demise. So it's not a good position for them to be in, and that's why we're doing this public service for folks to help them wake up. We have people like Jamie Lee on the show all the time to give us different viewpoints so that we can all have a chance to see more and make better choices, because we all have free will. So one of the things we do is to go out into the public and do our own investigations and research. And so when the fires here in California began, and particularly the one in Paradise, which is up near the Oroville Dam. It's in Northern California. Well, we had this idea to go up there and do some interviews with the people and see what's really going on. So Eric, one of our new friends, and I went up there last week. Investigations. And for those who don't know about the campfire there in Paradise, California, it started November 8th, 2018, supposedly from a couple of power lines that trees had fallen on. That was the ignition point up east of the town, and then high winds up to 70 miles an hour, so seemed to occur there about 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning that day, and really get this wildfire going, and it pretty much devastated the town. I think it had like 450 buildings. Not many are left standing, but there's some strange things going on as well. So that's what we're going to investigate. And if anybody knows about directed energy weapons, well, you could say that this was purposely planned, as Deborah Tavares and Jamie Lee and others have investigated. Let's see if Jamie, is this 707? Is that Jamie? Just to see. Let's see. Is that you, Jamie, or somebody else?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I was just giving a short intro on our trip up to Paradise and interviewing the folks up there. So I'll just finish that and then I'll introduce you.
Okay.
But so people were either reluctant to share what really happened, or they were just clueless about how the fire actually started up there. And we interviewed quite a few people, some of the leaders in town, what's left of it. It was a town of 26,000 people, and there's been varying reports depending on who you talk to. Either there's 400 people left or 4,000 that are trying to rebuild. And most of the interviews were like, yeah, it's a natural occurrence, you know. One lady that, I don't know if you know her, Jamie, she's Nikki from Nick's Restaurant. She's a local there trying to, it's like the center of town right now, trying to, they have meetings there with the folks trying to rebuild. Well, when she bought the place years ago, they told her it was a tinderbox ready to ignite, basically. And so she just thinks it's natural, you know, everything that the fire and how it moved through the town and you know, how it left trees intact and how it jumped from building to building. And we were driving by, and there has a Masonic temple in town, and that was intact. It wasn't burned down. So that was kind of suspicious right there. But the people were basically almost offended. Like if we mentioned, we kind of tiptoed around this. Well, could it have been purposely started, or, you know, have you heard of DEWs, et cetera, et cetera? But we didn't, the people there, we didn't seem to get much information out of them, except it was natural occurrence and, you know, Paradise strong, let's build it back. So they're up against, probably up against a lot there with what the controllers are doing. So anyway, yeah, welcome, Jamie Lee. This is great to have you on. I know you're busy, and we're anxious to talk about. Maybe you can start with the fires in California and the world if you'd like to, and any updates you have, any information you have about that.
Yeah, and give me a quick background as to your audience. I mean, is everybody fairly awake, or should I start at the very beginning?
Jamie, we are the most awake people on the planet. Yes. We know what's going on. Yes.
All right. So, hi, you guys. Thank you all for having me on the show and whatnot. You know, I'm just throwing up I'm doing a YouTube right now, and this should hit home to everybody. It's called the California Compassionate Intervention Act, which is just being put in the other day, where the governor is signing a law that in towns of over 100,000, the government can come and take up the homeless and charge them with crimes of economic depravity or drug use and put them in mental institutions for up to a year. They're rounding people up now, folks. They're putting them in concentration camps, folks. It's happening in California. We've been attacked now. We're being attacked because they want to take down the liberals. The liberals are the easy-picking fruit. That's what Trotsky said. Get the liberals, then go after conservatives. They're harder to deal with. Whether you're a liberal, conservative, or whatever label, it doesn't matter. What they're doing, and they started doing with the immigration down in Brownsville, Texas, when they converted to Walmart, was they converted a Walmart to put over 3,500 women, children, that they never found again, inside the prison camp that closed out Walmart that is now, with Bob Wire, became an internment camp. Now they're rounding up the homeless and doing the same thing to U.S. citizens, whether you're immigrant or not. This is because they're squeezing everybody out in California. They directed energy weapons. They hit us in Santa Rosa and Sonoma, but they used it before. They used it all the way back, directed energy weapons. You can go back to Oakland, 1991, the same profiles. 3,000-pound cars flipped on their roofs. One home completely torched. Homes completely torched, one home left standing. Like you were speaking about in Paradise, the Freemason building was left unstanding. The St. Advent Church or Advent Hospital was left unstanding. I went up there. They had a military lockdown in Paradise. The attack started November 8th, 2018, so a little over a year ago. They said the fires moved from Concow, which is 20 miles to the north, at 220 miles per hour. 1 football field a second. According to CAL FIRE Chief and Pimlott, the winds went from the east to the west. I grew up windsurfing in San Francisco Bay. We never, ever got easterly winds. And they're saying this thing moved at 1 football field a second, 100 yards a second, and it took over the town so fast nobody could escape. Yet in over 80 videos I did on Paradise Lost, the poor person, they said they told us to stay in place. They wouldn't let us out. They weren't the normal police. The tow truck drivers worked there 20. Those weren't the police I work with. There was guys from Yuba City and other areas. We didn't even know anybody there. They wouldn't let us out. And then now, like you're saying, nobody's left to build back in. There's over 9,000 building permits that are left unclaimed because nobody's come back. They don't do body counts in General Petraeus said, we don't do body counts, famously said about the Iraq War. Well, they're not doing body counts here, folks, either. They said 52,000 people evacuated that day out of Paradise. 52,000. And what you just said, the town population is 27,000, according to their statistics. Where did these people come from? Where did they go? And if you had a home that was lost, you would have been at the town council meeting 2 months later to find out where you could move back into your property. Could you put an RV on it? Can you rebuild? Only 250 people showed up at the city council meeting to find out what they could do on their properties. When we first got up there after they declared martial law and they shut it down with militarized police, they shut down Paradise. When they finally opened it up, it was a logging operation. It was a fiber optics operation. They were clear-cutting healthy trees. They were clear-cutting all the trees. Mm-hmm. They were reclaiming Paradise for themselves because it's part of the Bohemian Grove, a part of California, becoming a resource center for the world government. Folks, it's a world government. It's not the United States, Inc. It's not China, Inc. It's not Russia, Inc. Those are all corporations. It's Washington, D.C., city-state, beholden to no other country. Okay? If you're that awake, you should know this by now. It's the City of London who runs the banking, where USA Inc. is domiciled with their corporate papers. The ownership of US Inc., Washington, D.C., which no one can tell you the date Washington, D.C. was founded, February 21st, 1871, the Organic Act created the corporation USA Inc. The president of the corporation is a guy named Trump. the vice president, the treasurer, the secretary. They have corporate papers. City of London, city-state, corporate papers. Vatican, religion, corporate papers, city-state. It's all legalese under Roman Latin law. And this is still to this day, from the 15th century, we're still under the same exact laws, Roman Latin. Not one person can tell me what the word Latin even means. They use opaque language. They use us as chattel, as straw men. We're off on our ships, citizenship, partnership, relationship, bailiff, docket, admiralty law. I hope this is hitting people where they can comprehend what I'm saying here. We obey, and we're a nation of obedient servants. And now they're arresting the homeless for just being homeless because they've jacked up the prices on everybody and they burned them out of their homes, and people can't get homeowners insurance to move back in because they've jacked the rates up. They call us all in red flag warning areas, and if you can't pay, you can't get homeowners insurance, you can't have a mortgage. So there's going to be a homeless crisis growing, and now they just announced they're arresting all the homeless and putting them in mental institutions at the government's discretion. The same government.
Yeah,
Jamie, this is Bob.
Go ahead,
hey, Bob.
Yeah, Jamie, this is so true, and you talk about we're operating under maritime law, and we've been ever since Lincoln declared martial law at the beginning of the Civil War. That martial law he declared has never been rescinded, and when the United States corporate government was formed. In 1871, as you say, at the same time, that's when Black's Law Dictionary, the first edition, came out. So everybody that was party to this new corporation could understand the legalese that was being used in the brand new corporation, which was ruled by the dictator president of the corporation, and the make-believe constitutional government. All the senators in Congress are advisory in nature only. And I actually read a copy of the new Constitution, which was really indeed a corporate charter. It was not a constitutional government like 1789. It was a corporate charter, and I actually got a copy of it and read it. And it was a friend of mine copied it out of the law library at Yale, and that's where all the Eli's and the Yaleys and like Bush and Clinton and all those people that went to Yale are tutored about how becoming president, that they will be commander-in-chief of everything. There is no other law than the corporate law of the United States Corporation, and the only law of the land that has any value is those what do you call it? Those notes that they write. What do you call them?
Promissory note.
No. What's the law? You have it on your website. Anyway, whatever those orders are that the president comes out with, that is the only true law of the land.
Executive orders.
Executive orders, yes. And the interesting thing about maritime law is a lot of people, they cannot connect the dots that all police in the United States have military rank.
Right.
And all courtrooms in the United States have flags with gold fringe on the flags. And the only place that American flags are allowed to have gold fringe are Army courtrooms and parades and the office of the president. Those are the only places that it's allowed.
Well, yeah.
So every time you go into the courtroom,
we're under military law, and we've been under bankruptcy filing since 1933. But let me take you guys back even further to that and just ask you the question, and this is where we have to get back to this thing of law. Whose law? The law. They got us by this language they use. We languish in our definitions because we're definitions. So let's say you have Benjamin Franklin, you have Thomas Jefferson, Samuel Adams. Hey, we're fighting the War of 1812 for our independence against the British. Well, first of all, look at all the mansions these guys had after they were done with their lives. They had a shitload of money because they were in court. They were part of British nobility. When they said we're going to design a new flag, who uses the exact same colors as the enemy you just defeated? And when you write a constitution and a compact called the Constitution, it's written by 55 rich land-owning white guys, and you exclude everybody else, it's a contract. You cannot assign a contract. They meant we the people, us. That's what it's been. And then they wrote the small capital. That's why your driver's license, your credit cards, your bank statements are in capital letters, because you're part of the corporation. The small capital United States of America is what everybody talks about, the Constitution. But just like everything else, there's two sets of books. And when you talk about, my Second Amendment rights, you don't have any rights in the eyes of the court because you're a chattel. You're a straw man. When you say, do you understand, you stand under being this fictitious character that you stand in court. The judge in his satin robes, his Satan robes of black, and his 3 Freedom Mason steps up with the docket ruling down on who's harmed who. It's common law. It's only about what ship has harmed and lost cargo to another. That's all it cares about, and it's for profit, the corporations. The attorneys are bar attorneys, British accredited registry, registered in the city of London, every U.S. attorney to participate in the corporation. We got to change the system by taking away the system and not playing in the system any longer, which only means you have to get back to community. You have to get back to where you live, who your neighbors are, and write your own laws.